Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our sixth and final session of our series on being whole and kind of finding fulfillment in different parts of our lives. Today, we're talking about our volitional lives, or our wills, as it were. So, for those of you that are following along at home, reading along with me, we will be in the book of Numbers, chapter 22, verses 1 through 35. Before we get to that, I do want to thank everyone for following along at home. Hopefully you have gotten as much out of this series as I have. Hopefully you've been enjoying it. For those of you that are interested, I will be continuing to do these Bible study lessons. I have 3 more series lined up. One is on being a caregiver. There will be a series on different sides of Jesus, whether that's the divine side, the human side, the tender side, the tough side. Kind of 6 different major aspects of Jesus' personality and who he was. Starting tomorrow, though, kind of along the same lines as wholeness, I'm going to be doing a series, each of them again with 6 lessons, on our true identities, kind of looking at what makes us unique, what abilities we might have, or that we might have been given by the Spirit, looking at what God might be calling us to do with our lives, with our abilities, so on and so forth. Hopefully one or more of those interests you, gets you excited. I'm excited. So, hopefully I will be sharing this time with you all in the future. Until then, let's jump right into the reading today. Again, we're in the book of Numbers, chapter 22. We'll be reading verses 1 through 35. Let's start with the icebreaker questions before we get to the reading itself, though. First icebreaker question is, growing up, what was your favorite pet? The pet that I seemed to like the most when I was a kid was our cat Hoover, all black. He was beautiful, very affectionate. But I've realized in retrospect that having to give him up didn't hit me as hard as my family having to put our dog down because she was just getting so old. So I feel in retrospect that our dog, that was my favorite. I was the mean kid that, poked the dogs in the eye to see what would happen, but she was very forgiving, very loving. She loved getting belly rubs. So I have to say she was my favorite. Second icebreaker question, what phrase best describes your personality? Ooh, this one has choices. Okay, it's the first time we're doing this. All right, so what phrase best describes your personality? Quiet as a mouse, stubborn as a mule, loyal as a dog, wise as an owl, sly as a fox, slow as a turtle, or quick as a rabbit? I'd like to think that I'm loyal as a dog. I've had many people tell me that I'm wise beyond my years. I've had people tell me that I'm as stubborn as a goat, so I guess I'm kind of a tie between those 3. I think the one word that a lot of my friends have used to describe me, though, has been loyal, so I guess I'll go with loyal as a dog. Let me know what you all think down in the comment section. Anyway, getting to the reading for today. Again, we're in Numbers chapter 22, verses 1 through 35. Listen now for the word of our Lord. Then the Israelites traveled to the plains of Moab and camped along the Jordan across from Jericho. Now Balak, son of Zippor, saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites. And Moab was terrified because there were so many people. Indeed, Moab was filled with dread because of the Israelites. The Moabites said to the elders of Midian, "This horde is going to lick up everything around us, as an ox licks up the grass of the field." So Balak, son of Zippor, who was king of Moab at that time, sent messengers to summon Balaam, son of Beor, who was at Pethor, near the river, in his native land. Balak said, "A people has come out of Egypt. They cover the face of the land and have settled next to me. Now come and put a curse on these people, because they are too powerful for me. Perhaps then I will be able to defeat them and drive them out of the country. For I know that those you bless are blessed, and those you curse are cursed." The elders of Moab and Midian left, taking with them the fee for divination. When they came to Balaam, they told him what Balak had said. "Spend the night here," Balaam said to them, "and I will bring you back the answer the Lord gives me." So the Moabite princes stayed with him. God came to Balaam and asked, "Who are these men with you?" Balaam said to God, "Balak, son of Zippor, king of Moab, sent me this message. A people that has come out of Egypt covers the face of the land. Now come and put a curse on them for me. Perhaps then I will be able to fight them and drive them away." But God said to Balaam, "Do not go with them. You must not put a curse on those people because they are blessed." The next morning Balaam got up and said to Balak's princes, "Go back to your country, for the Lord has refused to let me go with you." So the Moabite princes returned to Balak and said, "Balaam refuses to come with us." Then Balak sent other princes, more numerous and more distinguished than the first. They came to Balaam and said, "This is what Balak, son of Zippor, says. Do not let anything keep you from coming to me, because I will reward you handsomely and do whatever you say. Come and put a curse on these people for me." But Balaam answered them, "Even if Balak gave me his palace filled with silver and gold, I could not do anything great or small to go beyond the command of the Lord my God. Now stay here tonight as the others did, and I will find out what else the Lord will tell me." That night God came to Balaam and said, "Since these men have come to summon you, go with them, but do only what I tell you." Balaam got up in the morning, saddled his donkey, and went with the princes of Moab. But God was very angry when he went, and the angel of the Lord stood in the road to oppose him. Balaam was riding on his donkey, and his 2 servants were with him. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with a drawn sword in his hand, she turned off the road into a field. Balaam beat her to get her back on the road. Then the angel of the Lord stood in a narrow path between 2 vineyards, with walls on both sides. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, she pressed close to the wall, crushing Balaam's foot against it. So he beat her again. Then the angel of the Lord moved on ahead and stood in a narrow place where there was no room to turn, either to the right or to the left. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, she lay down under Balaam, and he was angry and beat her with his staff. Then the Lord opened the donkey's mouth, and she said to Balaam, "What have I done to you to make you beat me these 3 times?" Balaam answered the donkey, "You have made a fool of me. If I had a sword in my hand, I would kill you right now." The donkey said to Balaam, "Am I not your own donkey, which you have always ridden to this day? Have I been in the habit of doing this to you?" "No," he said. Then the Lord opened Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with his sword drawn. So he bowed low and fell face down. The angel of the Lord asked him, Why have you beaten your donkey these 3 times? I have come here to oppose you because your path is a reckless one before me. The donkey saw me and turned away from me these 3 times. If she had not turned away, I would certainly have killed you by now, but I would have spared her. Balaam said to the angel of the Lord, I have sinned. I did not realize you were standing in the road to oppose me. Now, if you are displeased, I will go back. The angel of the Lord said to Balaam, Go with the men, but speak only what I tell you. So Balaam went with the princes of Balak. This is the word of our Lord. Thanks be to God. Our first question. How would you describe Balaam? A true prophet, a false prophet, a wishy-washy prophet, or a for-profit prophet? That's a nice play on words. Anyway. My first response is he is a true prophet. The Lord tells him not to go with the men, he doesn't go. The Lord tells him to go with the men, and he goes. The Lord tells him, don't do anything unless I tell you. Don't say anything unless I tell you what to say. He obeys. He's not spreading, like the Lord is talking to him. He's not spreading false information. He's not wishy-washy, is how I understand that phrase. And he even says, even if the king gave me his palace filled with silver and gold. So you can imagine this massive building filled to the brim with silver and gold. What would be billions, maybe even trillions of dollars in the modern day. Balaam says, I cannot do anything. So in my eyes, I interpret this as being, he is a true prophet. Not only does God talk directly to him, but he obeys. He is very attuned to the desires of God, and he does not oppose God. Let me know what you all think in the comment section. Second question. What do you see as the most amazing thing about this story? What the prophet couldn't see, or that the prophet couldn't see what his donkey could see, that the donkey kept saving Balaam's life, that the donkey could talk, that Balaam had a conversation with his donkey, or something else. In the back of my mind, I would have to say other. The most amazing thing in my mind is that when he is having the conversation with the donkey, he is not just completely, shocked out of his mind. If I were at home and the cat or the dog started, talking English to me, the cat said, why do you keep throwing me in my crate after I claw your skin? Or the dog said, why haven't you taken me for a walk yet? I think I might wet myself. That's not exactly something you expect to happen. So the fact that he has the conversation with the donkey and he thinks nothing of it, I think that's the most amazing part, is that he is having this conversation like this is nothing new, like he's done this before. So I think that's my response, is just is Balaam's lack of response to it, as if this is normal. But that's me. Please let me know what you all think in the comments section. Number 3, where do you identify with Balaam the most? Ignoring God and going ahead, kidding myself about my motives, experiencing adversity as a way God gets my attention, recognizing the holiness of God the hard way, being willing to turn back when God says so, or something else. I would have to say, for me, I feel like I'm leaning towards recognizing the holiness of God the hard way. Everyone experiences hardship in their lives, so I feel like, just given my experiences, given what's going on right now, my experience has been, I have best experienced God's holiness, God's presence, God's love through the hardships in my life, not through, kind of as opposed to Job that we talked about in the last series, not as opposed to all of the hefty rewards. That's just me, though. 4th question. Why do you suppose this story is in the Bible? Well, the tree hugger in me and the animal lover in me wants to say it teaches us a lesson not to beat our animals, but then again, that's coming from someone who was voted most likely to join PETA in their senior year. In all truth, I think that this is in the Bible to really emphasize how far-reaching God is, because we really haven't heard of Balaam before this entry. We have gone through Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus. We've gotten to Numbers. We're almost to the end of Numbers. All we have left is Deuteronomy for the Torah. So we're getting to the end of the books of the law, essentially. This is the first we're hearing about this character of Balaam, but yet he has an established faith. It's not that God is exclusively with the Israelites in Egypt and in the wilderness. No. God is also already in Moab. He's already in the promised land. He's already beyond the promised land. He is already anywhere and everywhere and every time. Already God is, period. So the other part of it, I would have to say, is Balak, king of Moab, wants to cause harm to the Israelites. He fears the Israelites, but here we have God defending the Israelites. So here we have another instance of God standing by God's children, basically demonstrating the limitless, unconditional love that God has for us. So I have two responses. First is kind of how far-reaching God's power is, and the other is how far-reaching and the lengths God would go to out of love for us. Let me know what you all think, if you all have something else in mind. Question number 5. When the direction of your life undergoes a mid-course correction, how do you generally respond? By getting mad at God? By getting defensive? By lashing out at others? By beating up on myself? By asking for forgiveness? Or something else? With all of the mid-course corrections that I have had, I would have to vote for other. I am, let's say in high school, when I was looking at being a doctor, and I realized that ministry was actually where I would be best suited, where my skills, my interests would best lie. I wasn't angry or defensive. I wasn't any of the given options. I was satisfied. I was pleased. I can't remember being like lashing out, beating up on myself, anything like that. I was just happy that I finally got some answer as to this is the direction God is taking me in. That's just me though. Please let me know what you all think. All right, this next one has a lot of options, so I will read them through twice. If you still need it, them read again, please feel free to rewind the video. Who or what can you trust to help you follow the right path? My upbringing, my feelings, my mind, my small group, my conscience, an angel, my family, my pastor, my faith, or I'm not sure. Again, who or what can you trust to help you follow the right path? Upbringing, feelings, mind, small group, conscience, an angel, family, pastor, faith, I don't know, or I'm not sure. I've personally never seen an angel, so my response would not include that. Being a pastor, I can't exactly say my pastor, but my fellow pastors, my colleagues in ministry, the general presbyter of the presbytery that I am in, yeah, I can definitely turn to them for guidance. I'm actually even a part of a few different groups on Facebook that's what they're all about, is finding guidance, saying, hey, I have a question. What are you all doing in response to X, Y, or Z? My faith is definitely a good guidance. That very basic question, what would Jesus do? What would God want me to do in this situation? And even if it's not something that I necessarily like, forgiving the kids that bullied me in middle school, high school, it's not something that would naturally come to me, but it's something that I've realized was a part of God's plan. It's something that I realized God used for good. So that faith has helped me forgive them. Family / upbringing, I would have to argue those go in tandem with me. That's not the case for everyone, but I would have to say basically every one of them except an angel. Really. Every one of them plays a different aspect in helping to follow the right path. conscience and mind go together, small groups. Definitely small groups can be a great place of seeking guidance. Your feelings. If something doesn't feel right, probably a good idea not to do it, not to go there, whatever it is. So I would argue any of them. And just because I have not seen an angel doesn't mean that they're not good guides. I believe they exist. So, hey. Let me know what you all think. It doesn't say you can pick only one, so I pick all of them. That might be the cop-out answer, but it works. Number 7. What do you need to do more of to keep your will in line with God's will? Learn about the Bible, obey what I do know, pay attention to circumstances, pray, seek counsel from others, trust God's plan for my life, other. I think the biggest thing for me is trusting God's plan for my life. Often I think about how much I have made certain plans. Before I went to freshman orientation for college, I had planned out all 4 years of college. Before I had gone to seminary, gone to orientation, I had planned out all 3 years of seminary. And those plans more or less went out the window at different points for different reasons, whether it's because I knew the professor teaching a particular course and I didn't get along or wouldn't get along, whether it was because, oh, that class isn't being offered this term, so therefore I have to switch courses around, so on and so forth. Kind of in the same way, I realize that I can make plans as much as I want, but that's not always the case. That's not always what God has in mind. And the biggest thing for me is just trusting that when Katie and or I do hit a rough patch for whatever reason, that there is a purpose to it, that just as God has accompanied us to this point, God will accompany us through and after. That God has a plan for this, it will make sense, and just to trust that to everything there is a reason, essentially. So that's me. Let me know what you all think down in the comments below. Last question, as always, how can this group support you in prayer? As always, if you have joys or concerns that you wish for me to share during my Sunday morning worships, please feel free to send me an email. Please feel free to leave it in the comments below. Be more than happy to pray for any or all of you. But that ends our series on wholeness. Tomorrow we will start a series on our true identities. So until tomorrow, have a good day, God bless, and see you tomorrow.